Hey there, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today on Peep Into Education. I'm Kylie Elizabeth, also known as the Virtuoso Educator. And today's special guest, I have Andrea Fitzgerald, who also goes by Fitz. Andrea and I connected via Instagram through her Instagram channel, Mental Fitness, and she is an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, as well as a former educator. And so she's going to come on today. We're going to have some talks around building relationships in education and just in general, and kind of see where our conversation goes today. Bring her in. All right. Hey there. How's it going?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. What's going on?
I love the energy. I got to say, I didn't say that earlier, but thank you so much for joining me, Andrea, or Fitz. And so I'm going to give you some time here to tell the followers and viewers that are watching with us today a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into our conversation.
Well, hello, you all. My name is Andrea Fitzgerald. I'm an author and a speaker, and I wish that I could tell you all that I got into education because I wanted to help kids and stuff like that. But really, I got into education because I wanted to wear sweatpants. I was a former athlete, play sports. I said, what can I do where I can still wear my sweatpants and make a little bit more money? Because I worked in the NBA. I said, I'm gonna be a PE teacher. Well, that didn't work out. So I ended up becoming a math teacher. And that first year, man, them kids gave me a run for my money. They really did. I was literally about to quit. I mean, I couldn't manage my classroom. I was screaming and yelling every day. And that's a tip. Yelling is not classroom management. But, but I was doing that and I was stressed out. I was like, dang, man, this is so hard. So because of those challenges, it inspired me to write a book for new teachers. Because
you can put it back up. Let's see. What's the title? Go ahead. Okay. The Rookie's Playbook. All right.
Yes, the Rookie's Playbook. But that because my principal gave me the Harry Wong book and it was cool, but I was just like, man, I'm having a meltdown. I need something quick for that. My class is off the chain. Can you give me something for that? And I just it wasn't there. So that inspired me to write the book to help new teachers. But even as a math teacher, despite my selfish reasons for coming into the profession, it did lead me to my purpose. Because as a math teacher, what I started to see, it wasn't that students couldn't do math; they just were not confident that they could. But as they started to have more success, they would say, "Well, shoot, Miss Fitzgerald, if I just did these little math problems, well, certainly it's other things that I can do." So that's my hope in any interaction that I have is to build the confidence and self-efficacy of people, whether that's teachers, whether that's students. Just to see people succeed, because a lot of times it's like I said, it's not that we can't do it, we just don't believe that we can.
Right. Yeah. And that's so important to believe that we can. I talk about this in a couple of the podcasts with others that, kids kind of get discouraged very quickly in some of our settings in education, especially by teachers. And, it's really important to advocate and push for what these kids can do and not set any low bars for our children, regardless of their learning capabilities or capacities, and really to kind of challenge them, but also encourage them at the same time. So, yes, math is a skill that can be learned by many people. It's not something that you are good or bad at. It's something that's learned. So I love that you started, and I kind of chuckle at that because and when you talked about you joined to be a PE teacher, right? So you can wear your sweats, and it's kind of that's like if some don't know, that is like an in-school joke, like, oh, you get to, most teachers have to dress professionally, but the PE teachers, because they're sitting there, with all the students in gym class, can wear just comfy clothes. And so we kind of got a little jealous sometimes, but it is what it is. But I rather not sweat. I rather put the clothes on than I'm kind of complete opposite than you. Oh, okay. So that's great. That's great. So kind of backing up a little bit, so before you got into, why gym? I know it's not just the clothing maybe, but like, are you an athlete? Like what, a little bit about yourself, or, some things from your education past that brought you into education.
Yeah, so I played sports all my life. I started playing basketball when I was about 5 years old. And my coach told me in 5th grade for the very first time, he was like, listen, if you keep working hard at this, you can actually go to school for free. I didn't even know it was a possibility. But I fell in love with basketball. I was always like a very quiet kid and stuff like that. So I just was obsessed with it. I mean, I would go outside for hours just outside, like making jump shots, stuff like that. So I did end up earning a scholarship to play college basketball. It was always my goal to play Division 1, but the knock against me was I was too short and I couldn't shoot. How you play basketball? You short hair, you can't shoot, right?
Oh, you got
But
to shoot though, at least.
I know I couldn't even do that, but it almost gave me this underdog mentality because I was not ever like the most elite athlete, but
Okay.
I got cut from my teams twice, and that just gave me this fire to just understand that it's not about you being the most talented, it's about your willingness to work hard and your commitment to just growing. So earned a scholarship to play in college, played at Marshall University and Carson Newman College. And at first I thought I wanted to be a college basketball coach. I tried that out for a little bit. I said, nah, that ain't it. But when I worked at the NBA, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was variety. I listen, I ain't sitting in no desk every day. That's just what it is.
Right. Right.
But just it was a lot of variety, and then just being around a sport I love so much. So I worked for a couple of NBA teams, the there was Charlotte Bobcats then, but now Charlotte Hornets, Memphis Grizzlies, and Atlanta Hawks. And I just worked so much because we are the entertainment. So it's holidays, it's all that, and so that's what made me be like, okay, what's next? So that's what kind of led me to education.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great like route, right? And so I know being in a collegiate level teaching or even coaching, it is like a whole different ball game, even though the sport may be the same. But I think the behind the scenes pieces that a lot of people don't realize in sports in general is very different. Depending on the grade level that you're in. And so, I don't know if you wanted to go back all the way to Pee Wee, but but you made it somewhere. So did you, when you were teaching, so kind of touch base on, you're teaching how many years? And I know you talked about a little bit of PE and math.
Yeah, so I never taught PE. I never made it to the PE. So I taught math. Yes, I taught math for 7 years. And as I said, my first year, whole disaster. But the rest of my career, as I continued to I still had challenges a couple years after, but I started to learn more about like the skill of teaching, but most importantly, just the value of relationships. Because I think both personally and professionally, I just had some challenges there, baby. Like taking the time to understand, who people are, because I think I can be very results oriented. Former athlete, let's get in here, let's work, let's do what we got to do. So I did that. I did that for about 7 years. And because of the results that we had at our school, we had like 70-80% of kids proficient every year. They were like, hey, we need you to, be a math coach. And so I became a math coach and served as a math advisor, basically working with high schools across the district. And for the past 5 years or so, I've been working with a few nonprofits, but also I started my own business about 5 years ago now, Mental Fitness, where I work with new teachers to specifically new math teachers to help them build the confidence and self-efficacy. Like when I speak to, all new teachers, but my like one-on-one work is mostly with new math teachers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so with so your first year is high school, all high school for the 7 years?
Yes,
Okay, so
absolutely. What are we doing if we're not doing high school? Like serious?
No, I don't know. Listen, I taught high school for 7 years too. I loved it, and I did a little bit of third grade. No, thank you. Middle school, absolutely not. Those kids don't know what they want. I couldn't do it. I did summer school for middle school, never again. And high school, I loved every bit of it. And yes, so that relationship building, extremely important within the high schools. I definitely want to touch back on that in a second. The kind of backtracking just a little bit, you talked about raising that proficiency in the math. But then you also mentioned, obviously that took your time and work to do that within those 7 years. But you mentioned the first year was really rough for you, right? As a first year teacher. I kind of want to know, in your opinion, why do you feel it was rough, and what maybe what supports could you have to not be as rough as it was?
Yes. How about, this is what it reminded me of my first year. When I was in college, like I played basketball my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
We have open gym, which is basically where all the players play, like everyone. This is my first time playing with college level athletes. And the first time,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm playing defense and I got hit with a screen so hard that I fell down. Like it was a student, like a player just hit you and I fell down because it was a shock. I was just like,
Yeah.
whoa, I've done this my whole life. Why is this so hard? And that's kind of how teaching was for me. It was the shock of it all. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
gosh, I thought I'm just supposed to be teaching math. I did not know that you need to build relationships. I did not know that you need to have structures and systems. I came in there with my textbook and my dry erase marker, and I thought they were gonna listen to me. And that was my little lesson plan, and it was not working. He's like, "Oh, you have to teach them how to get a pencil. You gotta teach them how to use a calculator." So I think just the how, the
In high
how.
school at that. In high school. Let's guys
Yes,
remember she's in high school. Okay. The
yes,
how, yeah.
the how,
And
and oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you good. And I think also just um almost like a wittiness that comes with teaching. Like it's like this skill you have to have. Like sometimes you got to clap back. Sometimes you got to, like in high school especially, like it's a completely different skill set. And I was
Mm-hmm.
not even ready. I mean, I was going back and forth with kids. Really, why? Why are we doing this? Self-management.
Yep.
Somebody can tell me about that. So yeah, that was some of the challenge I had. That's why I was on the struggle bus. Because screaming and yelling is not classroom management. You're gonna need some systems for that.
So prior to the starting that school year, what was did you get any like introductory professional development? Did you get like this is what a day is like in high school teaching, or you kind of just jumped right in? Or you got
Yeah,
thrown in, one of the two?
middle of the year. That's
Mm,
I came in the middle of the year,
that's
and you
the
know how that goes. They've had a sub for months,
yeah,
and you're trying to come here and bring some type of order. It just was not working out here.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
those I know those of you watching that are coming at the middle. I've done that. That was that third grade class. My very first year while I was working on my master's was oh, Miss So and so is out for the rest of the year. Whoop, those third graders, they're like, "Who are you? And what are
Right.
you doing here?"
Exactly.
But same with the high schools, and what's interesting about that too is, especially in high school, I think we're all kind of aware of those days that we had subs, and for me, and I don't know about you, Fitz, but like we always had the same kind of sub that was around, and you're like, oh, we get so and so today, and like, oh, we get so and so today, like they're fun or they're not fun, that type of thing, right? And
Yeah.
but I think I heard, when I talked to, especially when I was teaching the high school students that were interested in being teachers, one of the comments was, we always have subs, or people aren't here, or there's not people to cover specific classes. So, we get different teachers all year round, especially if they're not long-term, right? And that kind of speaks to like the teacher shortage and recruitment and retention conversations that we discuss a lot around
Yeah.
education. So I think like if those of you jumping in on a middle of the year, rough. If you're jumping in at the beginning of the school year, especially long-term subbing, and still have not had experience in education, that's going to be tough for you as well. And I talked about this at my call last night. Some of us that are coming from the industry, for career and technical education courses may not understand classroom management, or just kind of like you said, you thought you were coming in with the paper and your whiteboard and you're going to get going and that's going to be all fine, and it's not.
Right.
And so for you, what did you do? You did the relationship building. And so, yeah, let's kind of talk on that a little bit. So what are some things that, worked out for you that helped you even with those math scores and kind of stuff like that with those students?
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people this. I say, let's be clear. You still got to be able to teach out here. The relationships definitely help. But I think a big part of it was I just became a better teacher. And I think a lot of times as a new teacher, like you talk about things that I didn't know. I didn't know that mistakes are how you're going to become phenomenal. I didn't know
Right.
that. And I think a lot of new teachers experience that, because I think that's why I was struggling so much. I mean, I was looking around at everybody else and I was just like, man, they seem to have it figured out and I'm on the struggle bus. What is going on? But I think the more that I started to understand that really being a great teacher is just about being reflective. It's
Right.
okay, this didn't work in period one. Let me try this in period two. Like I literally learned how to use Power School by calling inside of my own classroom, and a student put me on
Yeah.
speakerphone. That's how I learned how to do it. You know, I was like, of
Yeah.
course, these are 15-year-olds. They're gonna give me the right number. Of course they will. They ain't give me the right number. Caught students sitting next to her on the speakerphone. So I mean, you're gonna mess up. I think understand that's what really I think helped me kind of grow through that and understanding that
Yeah.
it's like it's not gonna be perfect. You're gonna mess it up sometimes. But in terms of well, I don't know if I answered the question before I go into the relationship, the things that help me build the
No,
relationship.
that's yes,
Mm,
absolutely.
okay. But in terms of the relational piece, I like to call it the heart model, is what I think helped me be successful as a teacher. So the H is high positive expectations. The E is examining your biases. The A is being authentic. And the R is relating to and connecting with your audience. And T is being trustworthy and consistent. I mean, I think those things, when I say the heart model, I think of the heart to me is, I say culture and relationships are the heartbeat of your classroom. They're the heart. It's
Absolutely.
the oxygen, the soil for everything else to take place. Because if you don't have strong culture, you don't have strong relationships, then this stuff that we talk about, I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna teach my bad problems. Baby, that ain't
Yeah.
happening. Sorry, hate
Right.
to break it down to you. They ain't trying to hear you. There ain't no connection up in here. So
Right.
that's what I tell people. My class, my first year was in heart failure. Y'all, like, Sanford and Son, it's the big one. Listen, I was stressed and they were stressed too, So yeah, it's my first year.
Yeah. Also, yeah, definitely that you were stressed, so they're stressed too. And I think that's a big topic because again, we have such high expectations for our kids in the classroom, especially around their behavior. But
Mm-hmm.
yet we don't have our own behavior kind of in lock. Like, we are high stress, and it's okay to be stressed, but there is also a way to manage yourself in a sense, and then also to be transparent, no matter the grades that you were you're teaching, to let those students know, like, hey, it's a rough day today. Some might take advantage of that, but some might be like, oh, okay, it's a rough day, like, let's kind of chill out. So you got to kind of play those games with them, right? And depending on the level, it's incentivizing, and depending on the grade, when I taught high school, I was very transparent with those kids, but I liked how you're like, are we arguing today? Because it would always be at the beginning of the school year, and I don't know about you, but those females liked to press me, those female students, when I was teaching. And the very first week, I would cut it like, we were going to be petty today because we'll go back and forth for the whole class. I was like, I'm going to win, but we're not going to do this. Let's just have a good time and do what we're here to do, and especially in high school, let's get what we need to do and kind of keep it moving, but not going to sit here and be disrespectful to each other and ruin the whole experience for everybody in the room. And so that setting boundaries and the culture, like you talked about, that heart model is really important. And I really love that you touched on that. Is that something that you include in your book, or like, what is your book outline?
Yeah, so it is something I include in my book. And honestly, I think in any relationship, I feel like those 5 things really
Mhm.
kind of set the tone, because that's kind of how when I do my speech on this, I talk about like just in our everyday life. Listen, if you in a relationship, baby, you got to do these things. Like, I got to see the best in you. I got to have a high
Yeah.
expectation. I got to examine my bias and check my filters, because I'll be like, oh no, it's you. Oh, actually, that's me. Let me look in
Yeah.
the mirror. And just
Yeah.
being authentic. So I think, yeah, it is outlined in the book. And my thoughts is, like I said, former athlete, the analogy I think about when I think about what does it take to be a great teacher, I say it's how to be instructionally fit. It's
Okay.
three, I say it's pieces of that. Like think about it, you trying to get in shape, it's three things that's gonna be there. You got to put the right foods in your body, you gotta exercise and move your body, but you also gotta have the right mindset. And it's my belief that the exercise to me are the tactical pieces of teaching, right? Like what's my
Hmm.
assessment? What's my structures?
That makes
What's my
sense.
system? What I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna do to get that right? How are they gonna perform
Right.
on this test? The mindset to me is that human stuff, and I think that was a challenge. Like I
Hmm.
continue to say, like that part. If I could have known that walking into the door and would have already been on somebody's sofa, I probably would have been a better teacher. But like the
Yeah.
human stuff, like how do you build relationships? How do you establish culture? How do you connect to the parents? How do you like those things? But the most important piece of it, now I'm gonna say the human stuff is just as important, but 60% of our health is determined by the foods that we put in our body. And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, you can talk about like when the people go into blitzing season and we got to get ready for the state assessment. At the end of the day, people got to be able to teach. Like you got to be able to
Hmm.
teach, and you got to be able to teach well. You also got to be able to build those relationships, the mindset part of the work, but you got to have a plan to how to attack some of these tactics of teaching. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you get your calculator? How am I going to respond based on the data? Like, so I mean,
Hmm.
you got to have those pieces there. So that's my structure, I guess, around the book. Is like really using like some sports analogies to talk about like being a teacher. Like we a rookie, essentially. We're not a vet yet. It was our
Right.
first time in here.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the thought from it.
No, awesome. And that those, I think for any first year teacher that or those that are thinking of going into teaching, this would be a great model to look at. And again, people take out the human side of teaching, which is really strange to me because we are interacting daily more time. My kids spend more time sometimes with their teachers than they do me, and I feel some type of way about that. So it's like you're
Mm-hmm.
spending hours upon hours with children every day, students, whoever even administrators to teachers. Like you guys are spending so much time around each other, and I shared this in one of my last podcasts too. Is like I was always it was frowned upon that I shared too much about myself, or that I connected too much to my students, or that I was acting like their friend and not their teacher. And it's like you're missing the point. Of course I shared things to a level of appropriateness in the schools, but it's like kids are seeking your advice, especially in high school, and
Yes.
kids are wanting to learn from you in a deeper way that's not just surface level, let me teach you the standard today. And kids want to be able to know that the person standing in front of them, preaching to them, talking to them, giving them whatever information you want them to know, that they are actually a human person and they have feelings and they have, they can be understanding. And when we don't do that, yeah, those kids are not going to perform and going to do what it is that you're asking them to do because they don't think you care. So it's really important. I agree. And that I kind of chuckle a little bit about the food, that 60% of the food, because even I go back to, we have our food and lunch programs, and please guys, I'm not trying to like throw too much shade on it, but it's not healthy. It's balanced,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not healthy. And even my fifth grade, my 11-year-old daughter, she's like, Mom, I'm tired of the lunch. Like, I don't want to get corn dogs today. I don't want to get hamburgers. Like, I want a salad. Like, I want some, like a
Right.
bunch of fruit. Like I want like good things. And, cause I've kind of, we've been working on our diet at home, and as
Mm-hmm.
beneficial as it, yes, we're feeding these students, especially those that may not have anything at home. But if you actually really pay attention to some of these like high calorie things, like it leads into a lot of and processed foods. It leads into all of the other things that we're seeing with behavior, and that we're seeing with obesity, and like all of this stuff. And it's part of it. So yeah, we're feeding them, but are we feeding them? So I know, because I taught nutrition for a long time, and it's really interesting. That could be a topic for another day, but
Yeah.
but yes. And then go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, yeah, I definitely agree. Something that I had someone talked about is it culturally relevant pedagogy? Is that what it is? I'm gonna get it right. I kept saying it. But she was just saying like nutrition is one of the ways that like really impact student. Like that could be a form of where oppression in a sense, or not oppression, but like where everyone is not getting access to the same resources. That's going to affect how, like you said, like how you show up at school. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yep. Yeah. Well, if I mean, even I every state is a little different, but at the last high school I worked at, I know that if you had free or reduced lunch, you had options, right? Salad was not one of those options. The salad that's in the other cooler. You have to purchase those with separate money. So it's like, it's kind of things like it's very, now again, that's for the entire population, but depending on who's being served and what community, it does look very different. And some have better food options. Some schools do strive to get, organic foods or things like that. And of course you have to be, a lot of the food vendors use cost effective, products and things like that, which more are processed than not. But so it's kind of like you have to be mindful of those types of things. And, in an educational system, we ask for all of these things, but we don't look at the food. We don't look at the lack of outdoor time in high school that, for them to like give themselves a break. All of those like kind of little nuanced things, but especially when we're talking about building relationships with people, like you said, it's just key. And that understanding your community is a huge part, especially as a teacher, and administrators, need to really kind of pay attention to those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when I hear you talk about that, what comes to mind for me is that it's I don't know if you heard like the 6-circle model, where it's like above the line, below the line, but it's just like it's so many things beneath the surface contributing to like what we see externally, right? But that's what comes to mind with me, like
the ecosystem.
You said what?
Like the ecosystem, so the center is the child, and then every ring, then you have the home, the school, the community, like kind of like that, like the branch out. I have to look at that too.
Yeah, it's kind of like they say, I forget what it is. It's like relationships, identity, and I forget what the other one is, but at the top is like patterns, structures, systems, or something like that. But basically, we focus so externally, like, oh, why these kids ain't learning, but we don't look at what's contributing beneath the surface, right? Like it's other things
that makes sense.
I'm, like I don't believe in myself, but identity, like relation. I mean, it's just it goes real deep. But
I see it now. I do the research as we're kind of going. So, but yes. So the top, so it's a circle, and I'll put this in our video later. So on the top, it's the process, structure, and pattern is above, and then on the bottom talks about relationships, identity, and information. And then they have the arrows that point up to process, structure, and pattern. So yeah, that's I've not heard that one, so I'll have to look into that. But yeah. Yes, it is. And kind of similar to if anybody has seen like the iceberg model, we see what's above the water for the iceberg, but really that's like a fourth of actually what's below, and kind of those things that impact us is very below the water or surface level. And we have to take account, especially as teachers, of all the things. It's not just one. And I think that's where so many people, especially, like you stated for yourself, they don't know what they're getting into before they go into it, especially if they're not coming from a trained background. And even training in the background, the trained background doesn't give you all the answers. I'll tell you that much. But
it does not.
Okay, it makes sense.
Yes, yes. That's what angered me. It's what freaking angered me. It's like, man,
yeah.
You got to train to steal.
And nobody told you, huh? And nobody warned you, because you can't warn them, because then they'd be like, oh, I don't know if I want that to do that.
Right.
Hold off a little bit. So I do like to ask the guests on the show, kind of within your experience and all of the things that you've learned over your time, and especially in your consulting work, like what is kind of a really big area that needs to be worked on in the world of education? What do you feel is kind of something that's really important?
I think that we've got to integrate both, like the human side of the work and also the work, like the work itself. When we talk about above the line, below the line, like to me, it's kind of like, you ever had somebody, you done told them to do something 50, 11 ways and it's still not done. Like that have been frustrating, but it's we're focusing on how to do the thing, but we're not addressing like why is it not happening. And we've got to, like, I think we got to go a little deeper. We dealing with human beings. It's way more complex. I mean, it's just not you up at the board teaching the math problems. It's just not you reading the complex text. We've got to add to the conversation, and we've really got to build our own emotional capacity. Because you are not just like, you just not teaching. Like, it is what it is. I mean, we wish it would be different, but you cursing me out now. Listen, I might clap back, but I don't know. But it's something that's making you do that,
Right.
And I think sometimes I felt like I didn't have the tools because I didn't understand. I'm like, oh, why the attitude? Like, what is this about? But it's just like teaching, I always say, taught me compassion. And I think I just think they just gotta equip us with better tools. And I think the other thing for me is, like, as a new teacher, like just walking in there with the textbook, shut the door, now you go do it. Good luck. Like, I just think teachers need a lot of support. And I think we've got to, like, take stuff off their plate so they can just focus on building the skill of teaching. So I think that is
Absolutely.
me, because it's too much as a new teacher. Like, I've had several people who, like, they will, before they come see me, they like, listen, I'm about to quit. I'm just letting you know, I'm on 10 your session, but I'm about to quit. But after a while, they're like, oh, well, actually, now I understand how this really works. So I feel more equipped because I understand. And I think we just got to have a real conversation about what it really takes, man. Like, it's not, that first year is just not easy, and it's going to require some of you to
No.
build your emotional toolkit. And I've just had,
Yeah.
like I say, personally and professionally, it's been a challenge for me. Like, but,
No, it is for, listen, I've been through it just as much. I think all teachers have, right? I think, but those that stick through it and actually make it through it, they get to reap that reward at the end of the day, because they are, at the end of the day, there for the kids, which most are. I will say, especially if you put in more than 5 years, most are in it for those students. And or at least as a public servant, to be able to do that work and kind of hopefully make good impact on the children that we're serving. And it's really important. So my other question for you is, you do professional development as well. I see that on here.
Yes.
So yeah, go ahead and talk about that. What does that look like?
Well, so listen, I'm evolving, but but now I do professional development for new math teachers. That's basically, and I frame it into, like, it's like 4 different sessions, with, like, coaching in between. But it's really, like, the first one is, like, how to establish the heart in your classroom, like your structures, your systems, those pieces. And then the next piece is, like, that's the diet. This is how you teach, boo. Like, this how you teach this thing. And then the last part is how to build, like, almost like how to motivate kids, how to build the confidence and self-efficacy of your students. Because a lot of times it's not that they can't do it, they just don't believe they can. So how do I get them to believe they can actually do that and invest in what it is? But I also offer a bonus session on how to reset your class when that thing off the chain. Every new teacher needs that. So that's
Yes.
that's what I focus in on. Yeah.
All right. And just so everybody knows, on Fitz's website, that you can find out more about her professional development that she has in her book and all of those fun things that are listed on there. So that was Mental Fitz, so FITZ-ness.com. And she has resources, and you can also sign up for her PD. Very, very nice price, affordable, not like these $525 ones that I'm seeing out here. But so guys, make sure you sign up, especially those that are struggling. If you're struggling in your class, and I think the biggest thing too is to accept that you are struggling, and know that it's okay, and then for you to go get that support, and reach out. I think another big thing too, like, within schools, and I've talked about this before as well, but is there a mentoring system? Or I feel that your very first year, you should be partnered with somebody your year one, and work and see how things are, regardless if you did student teaching or not. But most common, you're not really getting too much student teaching these days. But then, then to be able to, like, okay, the next year kind of take it on yourself. And if we think about this in any capacity, like doctors and lawyers, they all have residencies. They don't just jump in right when they graduate. They get kind of eased into the process, and to learn the system, and to know what it looks like, and to operate in. And I think in a sense that would be a good tool to utilize if schools have the capacity to do so. And then that way it kind of limits that burnout of those teachers in that first year. But if you make it past 3, you might be good. But I think post COVID, and me and you were kind of in that the last couple of years of that, and that's not easy. It's not easy transitioning out of virtual back into in person, and the relationship building was so different. I don't know about you, but I was meeting my students in a parking lot, first class time, just having conversations and lunch, like outside of our cars, like, how are you guys doing today? And are you okay? And a lot of these were our senior students who, during the pandemic in 2020, it was really rough for them. I'm just kind of going above and beyond in that aspect. But one big thing too on relationship building that I wanted to share with those watching is, instead of just let's get in the class, close the door, and start learning, right? And these are our objectives on the wall. I always start every day with, how are you guys doing? And some type of reflective something or other that's going to help you know where each of these kids are when they're walking in the door, if you don't know them well enough to kind of tell by their body language and things like that. And I think just being able to do something like that, and so that they're aware of, she actually is like making sure we're okay first before we actually get into that learning. So the mind's kind of clear, and they're like ready to learn and take in what it is that you're wanting to teach them that day. And they're kind of subsiding what was weighing on them. It's really important.
Absolutely. I love that. And that's so concrete and simple, like something that you can do. And it just shows the investment you have in them beyond them doing whatever it is that y'all working on. So I really I dig that.
Thank you. Well, so I want to know one last thing. What is, I'm going to start asking this a new question because I have to push myself a little bit. What's a goal that you have for you, maybe in 2024? What's something that you want to accomplish as you're in your new path that you're going in?
Gosh, I feel like I have so many. The goal for me this year, y'all, is it's discipline and consistency. That's it. It is not even about what I want to accomplish. I have a goal in my head, but the question I'm asking myself now is, who do I need to become to acquire that? So the headline for me is doing what I said I'm gonna do and keeping the promises I make to myself. It really ain't about other people no more. It's about, am I keeping the promises that I make to myself? And am I being systematic? If I say I'm gonna start at 2, I'm gonna start at 2. If I'm gonna have on my calendar, I'm gonna do this today, it's gonna get done. So it's really, for me, who do I need to become? I have a goal in my head, but it's like, who do I need to become to get that? So I'm not even focused on that. I'm just like, what are the habits that I need to create to get there?
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to steal a little bit of that because my goals are very similar. I'm like, okay, I gotta, really just push myself. And so for those that are out there watching, we do 1,000,001 things. That's what me and Fitz were laughing about earlier. Like, we all do 1,000,001 things. And thank you to our educators, but you still got to worry about yourself, kind of put yourself first, and then, take care of those kids that you're working with. So Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all that you shared and your resources. Followers, please make sure to follow Fitz. She's on mental fitness Instagram, and then her website that I shared, I'll also link that in the comments. And yeah, any other thing and final thoughts for you guys?
No, I don't think so. But thanks so much for having me. This was awesome. I love chatting with you. I'm looking forward to possibly collaborating in the future. This was great.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Fitz. Everybody else, like, follow, and share myself and Fitz on social media. And you guys all have a great night.